So how do you start making a logo? Logo design in the real world usually starts with questions and some ideation, like sketching. In this tutorial, you'll see how to make a logo. You'll create the shapes that make up what we call the logo art. But before you get into the tutorial and lay the groundwork for the logo yourself, let's look at some key concepts and terms you should know before you start. Now, you might be tempted to start your logo by choosing color. It's a best practice to first create your logo in black and white. No colors just yet. There's good reason for this. A logo needs to be crafted with precision and has to look good at every size and when displayed in any medium. This is easiest to work out in black and white without getting distracted by those colors. But don't worry, you'll add color to your finished logo in the next tutorial in this series. Our first step in making our logo art is to start with shapes. Logos can be made of all kinds of shapes using tools like the rectangle tool. You'll also find tools to draw circles like the ellipse tool, triangles, and other shapes, and even straight and curvy lines. Now that we have some shapes, we can refine them to best match our logo needs. For instance, for simple things like resizing and moving shapes, you can use the selection tool. But to reshape them, that's where the direct selection tool comes in. With the direct selection tool, you can move points to reshape this triangle to start making a wing. Illustrator also gives you ways to work faster to accomplish some of the more common and popular transformations, like rounding corners and merging shapes. Take the wing we just saw. These corners need to be round. You can do that quickly with the corner radius widgets in the shape. Now look at the head of the bee. We could draw these two shapes, but it's much easier to use the Shape Builder tool to divide this one shape into two. So let's recap. You can start with creating the simplest shapes, then modify them in different ways to create the exact shapes you're after to form your logo design. Now it's your turn. Start this tutorial with step-by-step instructions to practice making your very own logo. The difference between a good logo and a great logo often lies in the details. After looking at the logo art from the previous tutorial, we realized we need to make some minor adjustments based on feedback. So let's look at how some minor tweaks can turn a good logo into a great logo. In this tutorial, you'll start by applying finishing touches to parts of the logo to get it just right. Then you'll apply a brand color palette to make sure it has the look and feel you need. First, before you start the tutorial, let's explore some examples. Let's start by finishing the body of the bee. I sent the initial logo art to reviewers, and everyone that reviewed it felt that there needs to be a connecting line here. Instead of creating a new line, you can just copy and paste the one that's there. It then needs to be rotated to fit in place. So let's use the rotate tool. This tool allows us to rotate objects around their center or any point. In this case, we'll rotate it around the leftmost point so the lines are still connected to make the body look more complete. Up to this point, you've applied color and created shapes, but where Illustrator's power really stands out is in how much you can do with things like color and shapes. For example, if you have a fill applied to a shape and you need it to be a stroke instead, you could add a stroke color to the shape and then remove the fill color, but because Illustrator comes with so many options, you can just swap the fill so it becomes the stroke color and make the stroke as big as you need in the Properties panel. Alone, these small features might not seem impactful, but when you spend a lot of time on a project, these small features translate to more control, which means more creative power for you. In the first tutorial in this series, you designed your logo art in black and white. This helped you work out the logo's details and make it look good in all sizes and on every medium. Once we've finalized our adjustments, let's apply the brand colors now from the Beebly brand. When we say apply brand colors, it's not just applying color to shapes. Because it's a logo, it's more than that. Brand colors are the consistent set of colors that a company or even individual uses to represent their personality and style on social media, on packaging, everywhere. When you click either the fill or stroke icons in the Properties panel with something selected, the Swatches panel pops up. Here you can click any of these default colors to replace the original black color. You notice the folder in the panel? You can save and group colors for your brand and apply them to different parts of your logo. So let's recap. You saw how to rotate, resize, and align some parts of your design, and you personalized a logo with your brand colors. Now it's your turn. Start this tutorial with step-by-step instructions to finish your black and white logo and make it pop with colors. In the first tutorial of this logo series, we called out the different types of logos. Now, some logos have text and some don't. If you add text to your logo, like your company name or tagline, you'll likely need different versions to support different needs. Think about a logo on a horizontal business card versus a bag. You can fit the logo text horizontally on the card, but to get it as big as we want on the bag, it runs into the sides. So you need to create a different version for the bag. In design, these different versions of text placement are called logo lockups. Now, in this last tutorial of the Make a Logo series, you'll explore ways to add impactful text to logo art that matches your brand's identity. Then you're going to experiment with different ways to position the text next to your logo. Now, before you try adding text to a logo yourself, let's explore some key concepts you should know. Now, you might already know how to add text, but because it's a logo, you need to make sure the text represents your brand. This means you'll likely need to change the text formatting to get the right look you need. The first thing you should consider is picking the right font. Just like your brand, fonts possess personalities like friendly, or calligraphic, or fun, or clean. Depending on what you're going for, you can experiment to find the one that fits. If you don't have a specific font in mind, in the Properties panel you can filter the fonts based on appearances like serif, sans serif, or even handwritten to find the one you want. You can then select that perfect font from the list. You've probably heard the terms serif and sans serif. Well, as a general rule, serif is used for long-form text, while sans serif fonts are used for more quick, clear communication with maybe a few words. Now, the Beebly brand is modern and fresh, so we chose a sans serif font that conveys the same feeling. Now that you've chosen a font, the next thing to think about is spacing. What do we mean by spacing? We mean how far apart the letters and lines in your text are. Because logos usually only have one line of text, we care about the spacing between the letters, and that's called tracking. When you increase spacing, your text looks airy and luxurious, while reducing it makes it look unified and urgent. Once you've got a look for the text you like, you can now experiment by placing it next to the logo art to create the first of many possible lockups. For this lockup, which is meant to be used in a vertical ad, we think the text would fit and look best below the art. We want the art to be centered with the text. So with them both selected, we can use the built-in alignment options in the Properties panel to center them. But you'll notice that the text still doesn't look perfectly aligned. That's because the art is an interesting shape. So you can nudge it with the arrow keys until it looks visually aligned. So let's recap. You'll likely need to use your logo for many different purposes. If it includes text, you'll need to change the placement of the text depending on how you use it. Now, you can choose and format your text in a few different ways to match the personality of your brand. Then use alignment options to position the logo and text based on the logo lockup you're creating. Now it's your turn. Start this tutorial with step-by-step instructions so you can practice adding text to a logo to make lockup variations.